When you come to visit a Thai temple, it's really important to be polite and be culturally respectful. But how do you know if you're doing this properly or making terrible mistakes? Well, don't stress about it. Just be relaxed and be observant. Watch the people around you, watch the Thai people around you and see what they're doing, and follow some of these tips and encouragements in this video that is designed to help you have a more enjoyable experience when you do go and visit temples when you're visiting Thailand. I'm not suggesting for a minute that this is a definitive guide of what to do and what not to do when you visit a Thai temple, but hopefully you'll pick up a few things that will help you to have a more enjoyable time and that you can be more confident that you're not offending people. And don't really worry about offending people, because Thai people in general are so forgiving. If they can see that you're making some effort, they will help you and guide you along the way to being polite and doing things the most respectful way. And sure, when you're visiting a temple, it is one of the most important places in Thai culture, and so it has a lot of culture, a lot of tradition, a lot of ritual associated with a temple visit. And as foreigners, no, we're not expected to know all of these things or to understand them all. The most important thing, I think, is to make an effort and to be conscious and to be aware. Just be polite and be respectful. And within doing that, there's a few things that are really important that as Westerners, there are people from other cultures we may not be aware of. One of the most important things for people, particularly these days when we're all busy with our cameras and we like to take cell phone photos and selfies, the key thing is to not turn your back on the Buddha statue. So if you want to take a photo with the Buddha statue, don't turn your back and take a selfie with it. This is considered very impolite. If you're in a temple or in front of a statue somewhere, don't turn around and walk away, but just take a few steps backwards before you turn and walk away to show respect for the Lord Buddha. And when you do visit a temple, if there are Thai people there, it will become very evident very quickly the degree of respect and reverence that they have for the Buddha images. So pay attention to what they're doing and the level of respect that they are showing as they visit the temple. And of course, one of the key things when visiting a Thai temple is to be dressed politely. So this means that you've got to have your shoulders covered, and that if you're wearing shorts or a skirt, they must come down to your knees. And even before you enter the temple building, take your shoes off. This is a common practice in temples and in people's homes in Thailand. Shoes or flip-flops are removed at the door before entering the temple. And as you do enter the temple, don't tread on the threshold, step over the threshold. This is another small but significant sign of respect that you can show when entering a Thai temple. So take your shoes off, leave them to the side of the steps, or if there's a special shelf to put them on, make use of that, and then enter the temple. And once you've entered the temple, if you see something that you're really interested in and want to show your friends, don't point at it. Don't point with a single finger. If you want to point at something, use a hand gesture using your whole hand, either openly or generally not sort of stretched right out, but kind of be a bit reserved about it, but avoid pointing with a single finger. Point with your hand, or a lot of times Thai people will just point by raising their chin at something. And as you're in the temple or in the temple grounds, particularly if you're looking to take a photo and want to get a better angle, don't climb up on anything. This is considered impolite, it's disrespectful. So look for an angle where you can take your photographs or view what you want to have a look at from a normal standing position and not having to climb up on railings or a chair or anything like that. This is not the correct way of doing things. And when you're inside the temple building, sometimes you'll notice that there are seats, there are chairs there that are designated only for the monks to use. So if you want to sit down, it's most polite just to sit on the floor and not to use the chairs that are designated for the monks to sit in. And one aspect of being polite and respectful I think that is in pretty much any religious space, in any religion, is to not raise your voice and keep a quiet tone and a peaceful tone, particularly if there are people there worshipping, if there are people paying respects, then to talk in almost a whisper and certainly not raise your voice or shout out to anyone. Don't call out to your friends or anything like that, but just keep a quiet voice and a peaceful tone about your conversation, or just remain silent when you're inside the temple. And if you do sit down on the floor, make sure that you tuck your feet behind you. It's impolite to point the soles of your feet either at the Buddha or at another person. So if you just sit with your legs, knees bent and your feet tucked behind you, this is a sign of respect as well. In Thai culture, the feet are considered to be the lowest part of the body, so it's disrespectful to be pointing the soles of your feet at the Buddha image or at any people. And for women, there are a couple of really important cultural aspects that you must be aware of. As you're visiting a temple, look for signs. You might see signs, usually both in Thai and in English, telling you that there are areas that women are not permitted to enter. They're not allowed to enter some certain areas. Usually an ordination hall is one of them, sometimes some other areas around some chedis or different places. But just pay attention, have a look for the signs and see if women are allowed to enter before you go into any building or any walled off area or partly walled off area in a temple or temple grounds. This is a deep part of the culture that is actually showing respect for women. It is taking care of women. This is the belief within the Buddhist culture in Thailand, because they tell if a woman is to enter these areas, it could result in them having some health problems. So it just pays to be aware of this and to be respectful of it, and to, if that upsets you a little bit, then just be respectful and thoughtful of the Thai culture. This is not a Western culture, this is their culture, their tradition, and for whatever reason that rule is put in place, it's important for us to respect that. And the other really important thing for women is to give monks space. If you're walking past a monk, if you see a monk coming towards you, make sure that he has enough space to move past you so that you're not going to touch, because it is not permitted for monks to touch or to come into physical contact with women. And this also extends to passing things to monks. If you're having a conversation with a monk and you want to share something with them or show them something, you cannot pass it directly. You must put it down on a table or something like that, and then the monk can pick it up. But you cannot pass things directly or touch monks directly. And this is the same for Buddhist nuns. They are not allowed to have physical contact with a male. So just be aware of this. If you see a monk or a nun and they are going to be in close proximity to you, just make sure that there is enough space for them to be comfortable to pass by or to move around. And if you've visited a temple or two and you've really enjoyed it, leave a donation. I know in a lot of very touristic areas there are temples that are visited by a lot of foreign tourists. You'll have to pay an entrance fee to get in. This is because the temple upkeep costs money, and when Thai people come to the temple, they'll make a donation. So if there's no entrance fee, just leave a small donation. It's easy enough to find the donation boxes at any temple. And this is a nice way to show your appreciation of the enjoyable experience that you've had. And in some of the temples, and particularly again in the more touristy areas, there will be an opportunity for a monk chat, and this will be probably a designated time of the day that some monks will come and sit, and you can approach them and have some conversation in English. Many of these young guys, they'll want to learn English and practice their English, but maybe if you speak a different language, you'll find somebody that's also interested to speak with you in your own language if it's not English. And this is a great way to really learn more than what I can tell you here about being polite in the temples, but also about the depth and the richness of the Thai tradition and the Buddhist tradition surrounding temple life. And it is such an integral part of Thai life. Even if the younger people particularly are not sort of really dedicated to their faith or to the religion, there is still a huge amount of respect and reverence shown. It is such a deep part of their culture, a deep part of the tradition, and I'm sure sitting down with a monk you'll be able to learn so much more about it and how deeply ingrained the Buddhist religion is in the Thai culture. And so there's a few tips and a few pointers about how to be polite and respectful when you visit a temple in Thailand. I hope it's been helpful for you and that you've learned something. Thanks for watching.